Welcome to episode 3 of my Call to Help podcast. I am your host, Jennifer Cook, and in today's episode, I am sharing with you the full story on how I became a full-time wedding photographer pro at around age 23. So that's what I'm going to be talking about and kind of sharing my story with you today about. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into this story. So basically what happened was when I was 22, Daniel and I were still living in Virginia, and we had the opportunity to move to the Nashville, Tennessee area. This was mainly for Daniel's film scoring and songwriting business connections, and so we decided to take the leap in January of 2022. January 2022, and move to Nashville. And that's exactly what we did, literally at the end of January. So literally I remember photographing a wedding in Virginia, literally about a week before we moved to Nashville area. And so we made this move, and then a few weeks after we moved, I think it was literally a week after, a few days after we moved, I turned 23. Like, I had my birthday in February while we were in Nashville, and that began our journey of trust and pretty much relying on the Lord for everything and just kind of figuring out what we'd be doing. The story is that we had already booked some Virginia weddings for that spring, so in Virginia, but we had just moved to Nashville. So we were still driving back and forth quite a few times between February through, I'd say, May, I believe, because I still had some weddings over there and also senior sessions. And my sister at the time, she still lives in Virginia. She still lives in Virginia now. And so we would go stay with her and visit her throughout when we're doing weddings over in Virginia area. And so that was fun because I had, spent the past 4 or 5 years in Virginia going to school at Liberty, and so had Daniel, and my sister had been there for that time, my older sister. And so it was really great to just get to go back and see her and her husband, every couple of months or weeks. At that time, it was like, there were some times we were going back every 2 to 3 weeks because of weddings and stuff that we had booked. We also did the Liberty University Bridal Expo during that time. And that was a really good time to make connections with other people in the wedding industry. Really, we were just photographing weddings, traveling. I'm pretty sure I did some family sessions in there and senior sessions in there, some at Liberty, some other places, just doing different things within my business. And so I was basically at this point in life and in business where I was like, okay, we just moved and I have to make this business work. So I am going full time in wedding photography because we just moved. I hadn't looked for another full-time job in another company because I had fully moved with the intention that I was going to run my business and make it work. So during that time, we got to do some beautiful Virginia weddings and meet some couples who we really loved working with and just had a great time doing that. But then we were also building connections in Nashville, Tennessee area, which was super fun. Although I will say that I'd say the first 6 months of being in Nashville was pretty tricky just because it was a new place and we didn't really know a lot of people. Thankfully, when we moved, we actually moved at the same time our friends moved there. And so that was an easier transition knowing that we were moving to the area, having friends also in the area that we were really close with throughout college. So that definitely made it easier. But it was still pretty much a period of 6 months of just, I remember I was just sitting in the apartment, editing photos all the time, working on my business and working on the weddings that, we had just shot or future weddings that we were doing. And I remember that later in the fall that year, we were able to book our first Tennessee weddings that we did. We also did some family sessions that year in Tennessee. We were able to get involved in a church in Franklin, Tennessee called New River Fellowship, and we were able to meet some really wonderful families through that church. And so that really helped us to feel like we were building community and had, some Christians in our community that were helping to encourage us and building us up through this time of transition in our lives, because it honestly really was a time of transition in our lives. It was not easy. At the time, we had just moved from Virginia to Tennessee, and literally a couple months before we had made the decision to move, I found out that my older sister in Virginia was pregnant with her first child. And so leaving like Virginia, that was probably the hardest thing for me, because I was like, oh, like I get to be on, this will be so fun. Like I really didn't want to leave and go to Nashville, But I knew that for the sake of Daniel's music career, we need to go to Nashville because that would be better connections for him in the long run. And so I basically just was like, nope, I'm on board, let's go. Even though in my head, I really didn't want to leave Virginia. So it was actually kind of funny. And I'm pretty sure I didn't actually tell Daniel, like for at least a year, maybe a year and a half, like how much I didn't really want to move to Nashville, but I knew we needed to because I knew that if we didn't move like then, like at the end of January 2022, if we didn't move then we might never leave Virginia because little kids are cute and so fun to play with. Anyways. But what I really like about my business, about doing weddings, is that it has allowed us to be able to travel back to Virginia to keep doing weddings, and that way I get to see my sister and her husband and her children. She actually has 2 kids now at this time, so even more fun. So that's kind of how I started my journey as a full-time wedding photographer. I was honestly kind of just threw myself into it. To be honest, when I photographed my first wedding in January of 2022, it was actually, it wasn't really my first wedding because I had done others, but it was my first like solo wedding photography gig that I did like by myself. Like Daniel didn't come with me, and it was really stressful and really hard, although like the bride loved it. Honestly, like it was a super fun day. It just was nerve-wracking because I was scared. I was like, what if I mess up? But so I actually, funny thing is I came out of that wedding thinking, no, I thought I never wanted to photograph another wedding alone. So then I decided to start bringing Daniel with me. And that's when kind of like Daniel started coming into the business and helping me at wedding days, because I really realized that that husband-wife team, that connection with other couples was just so important. So that's really what started having Daniel come with me. I remember after photographing that first wedding solo, it was hard, and there were many parts of the wedding day that I was like, man, like I really need to get better at this. And so that's exactly what I decided to do. I decided to do the research to figure out what I need to do to improve. Now it's like September 2024, and now photographing weddings honestly feels like a breeze to me. Like obviously there's still parts of the day that are like, you still have to work through challenges. It doesn't scare me anymore. It doesn't make me nearly as nervous as I used to be, because I've done enough now, had enough experience in the industry that I feel like I can pretty much get through most things that happen on a wedding day, like with confidence, and keeping my bride and groom happy at the end of the day is really what I want to do. I want them to have just a wonderful wedding day celebration, and that's really my focus throughout photographing their day. And we're gonna get all the must-have shots, like obviously, but I want to keep them just chill, having a good time. And in my mind, I know the timeline, I know what needs to happen, and I know that I kind of just get things in if I need to. And that really only comes with practice. Really hilarious thing though, apparently back in college, it was honestly probably my sophomore year or junior year, probably my sophomore year though. I remember telling Daniel that I never wanted to do weddings because they were too stressful and too crazy, which honestly, it always is gonna feel like that until you've done probably at least 10 weddings by yourself. Kind of once you get through 10 weddings by yourself, that's when you start to feel more like, I could do this. This is just, like I've done this before, like I know what comes next. And obviously I've done way more than 10 weddings now. So it's become very much second nature to me. Like, to be honest, photographing a wedding kind of feels like eating a piece of cake to me now. Okay, well, maybe not quite that easy. Taking a photo feels like eating a piece of cake to me now, basically. That's how much ingrained wedding photography, and helping my brides and grooms through their special day and capturing their moments, that's how ingrained it is in me. So during the year of 2022, we started doing weddings in Tennessee and doing family sessions and just kind of building up those stream of connections, and then started doing weddings I started booking weddings for 2023 as well. So it kind of just builds on top of it, being a wedding professional, you just have to keep booking, keep working on stuff, keep networking. I got a lot of gigs through Facebook groups. I've gotten a lot of gigs through this Facebook group called Only Girls Are You, because I went to Liberty, and so I had a lot of connections with just the girls who were graduating from Liberty. There was just that mutual trust, and I think a lot of the wedding industry is based around just building trust with other people, because if people trust you, they're more likely to hire you. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it just takes a lot of time and a lot of patience to build a wedding photography business. It's very hard to build a wedding photography business in just a year, although I will say, I know people who have built a wedding photography business in a year and have shot a lot of weddings. So it is possible. It really just depends how much time and commitment you put into it. And I was at a place where I was still doing YouTube. I was photographing weddings and photographing family sessions and senior sessions. So I was doing more than just weddings. So I didn't feel the need to do like 4 to 8 weddings a month like some photographers do. And I came from the mindset of I want to serve each of my brides really well and protect their images, do a really good job for them. And so I didn't want to overload myself during wedding season to the point that I could not keep up with the work and could not give each couple a really good experience. So I decided to do fewer weddings than most photographers do when I started out, but still was photographing enough weddings to keep me busy. So what does it take to become a full-time wedding professional? So obviously you have to learn how to be a photographer. That is kind of the first step. It really just takes time and building and networking, and then building valuable relationships with clients and people in your life, and also just like building meaningful relationships, really caring about your clients and showing them that. And that's where like you can't just show up to a wedding day and photograph it. Like there's a lot of planning that goes into helping their day to go as smoothly as possible photography wise. I'm not a wedding coordinator or planner, but I kind of step in to help them plan their wedding photography timeline from the start. That way their wedding day is built in a way that the photos will come out really, really good. For example, I like to help my couples pick their ceremony time. That way it happens during a really good time of the day in which like the sun will be best. I normally recommend people to have their ceremony time about, I think I normally say 2 to 3 hours before sunset. That way they can get family formals, bridal party portraits, and then romantic portraits after the ceremony is over, and sometimes even more golden hour portraits. This can really depend on the time of the year, but I'll say that it's most important during the fall when the sun is like going down earlier in the day, so you really have to be on top of more fall weddings with helping them pick their ceremony time. Marketing wise, what was I doing? I was posting a lot in Facebook groups, kind of following up with past connections. I'd had to book weddings, trying to figure out like ways to network with people in the Nashville area, and I was still doing that. But it takes talking to a lot of people to get bookings. So again, like if you want to do 12 to 15 weddings a year, which is what I like to do, then you're gonna probably have to talk to at least 100 couples a year to book those 12 to 15 weddings. And I know it seems like a lot, but if you think about it, like think about how many people drive by restaurants, like they're just on the road. It takes a lot of people driving by a restaurant before one person decides that they want to go to the restaurant. And so it works the same way in wedding photography businesses, in that you have to talk to a lot of people before you find the right people who want to work with you and want to hire you for your services. So you kind of have to think of it like that. Like not everyone is going to show up to Starbucks and buy coffee. Not everyone is going to buy an appetizer at a restaurant. They might, but you just have to keep marketing. You just have to keep having leads come in to then book them, to then build your business over time. And I really love family sessions because families are so fun to like watch growing up and like their kids and everything. This year we are photographing a family for the 4th year in a row, which is like my record so far, which I'm so excited about. It's honestly just been really fun watching families grow up because you get to see them every year and it's just super fun. And I just, now that Daniel and I, we're a family and stuff, it's cool to see families growing up over the years, and it's cool to, be able to help photograph the weddings, and then, eventually, they might ask us to photograph their family sometimes, and it's cool to be able to see them going through the different stages of life. So what are other things I did to become a full-time wedding pro at 23? Honestly, trying to think. I just remember posting in a lot of Facebook groups. I would sometimes reach out to people asking them if they knew anyone who needed like weddings to be photographed or family sessions, senior sessions. And I still do that. Like I still just reach out to people and just ask, because sometimes they'll be like, oh yeah, like actually I want to book a session. Oh, I know this person who wants to book a session. So it really just takes, to have a business, sometimes you just have to ask, and but it also takes truly having a relationship with people throughout the year. Like the people I like to photograph, I really try to keep up with them throughout the year because I value their friendship. Like even though we have a business relationship, we also have a personal friendship in my opinion. And so I value really following them throughout the year and checking in on them and like seeing how things are going, and even like seeing them throughout the year. I think it's just fun, and I enjoy that connection we get to build with our clients and friends, because some of our clients also are friends. Some of our friends have turned into clients, but they're still friends. And something we've been doing more recently this year in 2024 is maternity sessions and newborn sessions, which I found that I really enjoy this. And I guess it kind of branches off of family sessions if you think about it. Newborn sessions are the most different. Really just have to learn a different posing and prompt structure. But again, it's just like another, people get married, then they have a family, then you're gonna have a baby, so maternity session, then newborn session. It's kind of just, it just naturally kind of falls in line with what happens next, like in life. And so that's really just like, it's the journey of life. And so I decided to start adding those in my business because I found that I really enjoy following people and helping them throughout those stages of their life and just capturing these moments for them, especially when it's like a first-time mom. They're like super excited about, having a baby for the first time. And so I've really enjoyed just getting to like walk alongside these families as they're entering these new stages of life. Okay, so that was totally not anything to do with becoming a full-time wedding photographer. But in my opinion, being a wedding photographer, sometimes it leads to these other things that you do. And that's kind of the point, is that my journey has started out in wedding photography, and I'm still doing wedding photography, and I still love wedding photography. Like, we still have 5 more weddings that we are photographing this year and getting to do, and super excited about all of those. But it also, being a full-time wedding photographer, it can transform into so many other things in business and life that can be really meaningful. And honestly, like, your clients really cherish these memories that you capture for them. So you want to make sure you're doing a really good job. And also just sometimes sitting back and realizing just how important these memories that you're capturing for people are. Even like on wedding days, you're photographing grandparents with grandkids, or or something like that, just a family member. Like, because I've heard stories of, wedding photographers who they got to take the last photo of the grandparents with the grandchildren because one of the grandparents then passed away a few years later. So you're really capturing memories that are cherished by these families, and also they're unforgettable, and people really appreciate all the hard work that you put into it. And I think if you think about it that way, then working towards becoming a full-time wedding professional, it becomes that much more meaningful. Something I also wanted to mention is that if the Lord is like helping you build this business or building the house, then it will succeed. So you do, like for me, it's important that I'm always doing what the Lord wants me to do within my business. Obviously, Dana and I felt called to move to the Nashville area, and it was hard, it was not easy, but we felt like it was what we needed to do. And not everyone in our life thought it was the best decision for us. But as we've done this and continue to do so, we've gotten more support and more encouragement, and we've been able to build a community with where we are now here in the Nashville area. Just a really cool community, and just, we've gotten to meet even more people than we thought we could. And that's been really cool. And we've been here for about 2.5 years now, and we've just been able to build such a good community of people and people at church, and that's been really, really cool for us. And just, it's good to have people around you to help encourage you to keep on going when you are an entrepreneur. And sometimes it's good to help have people like surround you as an entrepreneur, like have other people who are entrepreneurs surround you. You will become like the top 5 people you hang around with. So you need to surround yourself with people who are entrepreneurs, who are business owners, but also some who are Christian business owners. That way they can come around you and support you through the ups and downs of business. So that's really how I became a full-time wedding photographer at 23, and it's been a journey. And I'll be honest, like, there's been times where I haven't felt content in it, but then there's also times where I realized just how much a blessing it has been to us and how much it has helped us. And so I wouldn't really change what we've done at all, because I do really think it is the path that God has for us, and I think we need to keep following it, and I trust that we will keep following it as long as it goes. So I hope that this episode has encouraged you today, that if you are considering becoming a full-time wedding professional, it's going to take time and it's going to take perseverance. Ask the Lord if it's something He wants you to do and why He wants you to do it. I felt like He wanted me to serve other couples who were super excited about marriage and super excited about their lifelong family legacy. And so that's what, that's what we're continuing to do, and that's what I will keep continuing to do. I hope this episode was helpful to you today. And if you want to see more practical steps you can take to build your wedding photography business over time, then you can probably find more like tactical, practical steps to take on my YouTube channel, which is Jennifer Cook Photography. This podcast episode will also be linked to my YouTube channel. That way you can go check out everything else I have on there. But really, while I have a passion for wedding photography, I also have a passion for seeing other people succeed in their entrepreneurial goals. And so that's something that on this channel I talk about photography, but I also like to talk about entrepreneurial type topics and how we've done it over the years. So if that's something you're interested in, stick around for future podcast episodes with Called to Help. And also feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. That way you can see other photography education and other entrepreneurial tips. Okay, so I actually have 2 more videos that kind of you could watch from this video. So one of them is if you want to learn how to succeed as a business owner, then that video is going to be next. And then also if you want to know how to check the shutter count in your Canon 5D Mark IV, then that video will also be linked here to watch next.